The Italian press is currently awash with the sensational move of Carlos Sainz to Mercedes. Corriere dello Sport, Gazzetta dello Sport, and F1 Tecnica have all reported that the Spaniard has found a new home. This news is rather unexpected, as Sainz is the last remaining top driver who has yet to find a seat. The biggest trigger of this transfer came just a day prior, when Fernando Alonso signed a new 2-year contract with Aston Martin. Alonso had turned down a chance to join Mercedes, essentially saying the team was beneath him before branding their car as unattractive. But Alonso didn't just decide to extend his current contract out of his own free will. Aston Martin turned the screw on him. Aston Martin is going to be powered by Honda in 2026, and Honda, a Japanese company, wanted to bring in Yuki Tsunoda, a fellow Japanese. The 42-year-old panicked a bit and promptly put pen to paper. Alonso didn't want the Mercedes seat, and Verstappen wouldn't leave a dominant car for Mercedes, hence the road was clear for Sainz to team up with the Silver Arrows. On this episode, we will tell you all the details of the contract and why we believe George Russell is in trouble. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification. Welcome to Front Lockout. The contract duration. F1 Tecnica reported that the biggest obstacle to the Sainz to Mercedes move was the duration of the contract. Over the years, Toto Wolff has gotten rather used to handing out short-term contracts to older drivers. In 2018, Hamilton signed a 2-year contract for 2019 and 2020. When that contract expired, he signed for just a single season for 2021 as they waited for the ground effect regulation. Later that year, he signed for 2 seasons for 2022 and 2023, and then a further 2 seasons till 2025. These short 1+1 contracts have been the pattern of Wolff. It helps to keep the drivers motivated, but that could come at the cost of the driver moving freely to a different team, just like Hamilton did. Sainz was offered a 1+1 contract, but this did not appeal to him. He wanted a 2-year guaranteed contract with an option for a 3rd. But in the end, Toto had his way. He always does. Why Toto Wolff had to sign him. A move for Sainz makes sense for both parties. After 4 races in 2024, the Spaniard is the only driver on the grid with 100% podiums. Charles Leclerc used to be better than him, but that is no longer the case. The other factor going for Sainz is his experience in car development. This is an aspect that Hamilton doesn't have patience for. McLaren might have overturned their recent woes, but if you cast your memory back just a few years, their car was described as undrivable. It was the effort of Sainz and subsequently Ricciardo that gave Oscar Piastri a solid platform to make an immediate impact on the grid. With Mercedes prepping to get back on top with the 2026 regulations, a move for a development-oriented driver makes sense. Sainz is also an excellent teammate. The only driver he could never get along with was Verstappen at Toro Rosso. Implications for George Russell. It was reported that Carlos Sainz believes he is better than George and had even demanded equal contractual terms at the Brit. He is confident he can immediately dethrone Russell as the top driver, and he has some good reasons. Russell, unfortunately, hasn't quite lived up to expectations. While we understand that Mercedes hasn't given him a proper car, the driver doesn't seem to be the type of guy who has the ruthlessness that every top driver has. Sainz' 1+1 contract means that he can race for the team in 2025, and then they can decide whether or not to extend the deal in 2026. The reason is that next year, Wolff plans to find a seat for Antonelli at Mercedes' customer team, Williams. Logan Sargent has proven he doesn't belong to F1, and the team might just take a gamble on Kimi for 2025. If Kimi were to perform well at Williams in 2025, then Wolff plans to bring the Italian to Mercedes in 2026. This 2026 move would coincide with when Sainz' contract extension will be discussed. An underperforming Sainz could suddenly find himself displaced by Kimi. But who said Sainz could be the one out of a job in 2026? It could very well be George Russell. The Brit could be the one to make way for Kimi. Toto Wolff has a soft spot for the young Italian, and he doesn't want to make the same mistake he did with Max. Max Verstappen was a young 17-year-old when he was offered to Wolff. The Mercedes boss at the time had 2 incredible drivers in Hamilton and Rosberg. so there was no space for Max. To make it worse, Mercedes did not have a young driver program at the time. Max will later move on to the Red Bull sister team, and by the following year, he will become the youngest race winner in F1, and the rest is history. This is the mistake Toto doesn't want to make with Kimi. He's been investing in the boy since his karting days, and the boy has beaten every competition they have put in front of him. While he might be struggling a bit as the youngest driver in F2, this was partly because Mercedes made him skip F3, and even at that, he is currently 9th on the grid, 10 places above his sensational teammate, Oliver Bearman. We will continue to monitor the driver's movements for you. Do you think Sainz made the right choice? This is Front Lockout, signing off.